Hello and welcome back to NoBS. Today we turn to talking about one of the most popular and successful television shows of our time. Right now we're talking about The Walking Dead, and even though that show has waned in quality and in viewership recently, it's still admittedly one of the biggest shows ever. It's a big hit for AMC. It's been on for many seasons now, I think like 10 seasons. There's been spin-offs, there's been merchandise. It's based on a popular comic book, and it really blew up when it came onto the scene when it started around 10 years ago. And now it's had some issues recently, mostly because it's kind of like a show that's been going on for too long. It probably should have been canceled a long time ago, but AMC, it's like it's real bread and butter. It makes a lot of money off of this one show. So they kind of just are dragging it down to the ground. They're beating a dead horse. They're not letting the show end. It just keeps going and going. And that's what's brought us here today, really. They're getting desperate for attention and they're trying to get more relevance in the public. So of course, we know what they're doing. They're getting woke, they're getting pro SJW, and they're doing it by way of kind of shoehorning in certain characters with certain features and sexual preferences. And this is supposed to make them look really, I don't know, heroic or positive or supporting of woke causes. But I think we all could tell by now, we've seen this happen on many shows before. We could tell that it's actually just them virtue signaling to try and make more money. It's actually kind of worse than you think. Like, it seems like they're doing something nice. They're trying to support a community, which we all support too. We have nothing against these kinds of different peoples at all. But the problem is when you pander to them and you put the characters in, and also the characters are seeming to be poorly written. They're like forced in there in a bad way. That's what people really are offended about. It's not like you don't like these certain groups. Like, for example, there's new alphabet characters in Walking Dead. It's not because we're against alphabet or any of that stuff. We don't mind any of the letters of the alphabet. The point is you're doing a bad service to a bad show that's gone downhill. And we used to actually like it. I used to watch it myself personally. The first couple seasons were fantastic, and just over the years I gave up on it, and now we could see why. I kind of forgot it was even there, but now we'll see what's going on with The Walking Dead. We're going to talk more about it soon, get into the specifics and details about this and everything more. But first, let's take a quick moment to check out our sponsor, because without them this show wouldn't be possible. Virtual Shield is the only VPN I'll ever use because they have a strict no-log policy, and they built their software from the ground up for privacy protection as well. So make sure you go to my link, virtualshield.com/NoBS, and you will get 50% off today just by clicking the link, which is also below this video. This VPN service is compatible with all devices, and it allows you to browse the web safely, securely, and anonymously using their global network of servers and private IPs. Why not give it a shot and visit virtualshield.com/NoBS. Thanks for your time today. I appreciate it. And now back to the show. Great. Now that that's out of the way, let's get back to this Walking Dead story. As you could see by this tweet, this is very indicative of what's going on at The Walking Dead. It says, "Hi, hello. If LGBTQ plus characters on television or anywhere make you uncomfortable or angry, please unfollow us. While we also encourage you to look within and be more accepting, know there is no place in our fandom for hateful discrimination or willful ignorance. Thank you." Now, this is funny for a number of reasons. This has a lot of layers to it, actually. Not only does it first off sound kind of cheeky, like passive aggressive, it's like very high and mighty too for The Walking Dead to come off this way, but it's also just misrepresenting the situation. So first, from the first line, let's go back to the first line. It says, "If these characters on television make you uncomfortable or angry, unfollow us." So I don't think that's really what's happening. I've read some of these comments. We'll scroll down to more comments and replies soon, but essentially this show is getting woke. They've got Black Lives Matter in their profile. They're pushing these alphabet characters. We are not really saying we're against any of those groups. Like, minorities are cool. LGBTQ is cool. Like, we're not against any of that. No one is arguing that. No one is saying that that group or anyone makes us uncomfortable or angry. I would just say the fans here are saying the show is crappy and they're putting in characters for the wrong reasons and they're not good. For example, another thing I think of is just the fact that, like, that's not a character. Like, introducing someone on your show saying this is a lesbian, like, that's not a character. That's not a trait. Like, you don't just think of Superman and you're like, this is a straight person. You know, you don't think Batman as a character. You're not like, oh, this is a rich person. It's like, no, there's more to characters than that. They have to have a story. They have to have depth. They have layers. They have things going on in their lives. They're trying to save their family or survive this apocalypse, like what's happening in The Walking Dead, basically. So the first line right out the gate is misrepresenting the whole thing. Like, it's not about people being uncomfortable or angry about any groups. Like, that's not really what's happening. The truth is they're getting backlash about a poorly written written storyline involving these characters, and they're using their sexuality as a shield. They're trying to say, hey, if you don't like this episode, you don't like gay people. And that's not equivalent. That's like the Ghostbusters 2016 defense. Ghostbusters 2016 has famously used this defense saying, hey, if you don't like our movie, you hate women. It's like, no, we just think your jokes aren't funny. Next, the tweet, going back to the tweet, the middle of it says, while we encourage you to look within and be more accepting, know that there's no place in our fandom for hateful discrimination or willful ignorance. Now, this is where it kind of gets ironic, because they're saying they're accepting of everyone and they don't discriminate, while also not accepting people and discriminating them. It's kind of a strange kind of, I don't know, it's very ironic. It's like a double standard kind of thing, because you can't really say that. I mean, I know it sounds strange, but if you really don't discriminate against any people, you can't just pick a group and say, well, it's okay to discriminate against them. Now, I know it sounds like a given, because they're in their story, in their hypothetical fake fantasy world, they're really just discriminating against racist or sexist or homophobes. Like, they think it's okay to discriminate against them. But the truth is, they're just people that they disagree with, and they're misrepresenting their arguments in the worst way. So in truth, it's just people they disagree with, they think they can discriminate. And that's what's funny here. That's the irony, is that if they were really accepting of everyone, they would accept people they disagree with. They would even accept people that are supposedly racist or homophobic. I mean, those are mindsets that are bad. We all know that, and we don't want people to think that way. But if you were actually as open and accepting as the left claims, as this Walking Dead claims, you would have to accept everyone, even people that have very bad thoughts about other people. Now, I'm not saying you should encourage that. I'm not saying you should say it's okay. Like, we're not saying it's okay to be racist, but in a perfect world that you aren't discriminating against anyone, you actually can't discriminate against racists, right? So that's the point. It's kind of an ironic twist to this tweet that I think is pretty funny and kind of complicated to go over if you actually break it down like we just did, but I think that about wraps it up. The other thing I want to say, though, is The Walking Dead is just being ridiculous about their fans. Like, you shouldn't be telling people, oh, you can't watch my show, you can't support my product, you can't support what I'm selling. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, these companies, these people should really just be open to anyone observing their show or buying their DVDs or their merch. Like, it doesn't really matter who your customers believe in or who they voted for. Like, they're being very kind of strange and authoritarian and just kind of like bubble thinking, like where they're just, everyone has to think the same as them. And they're basically kind of crapping on a lot of their fans, because again, I know it seems like they're trying to act like they're just crapping on racists and homophobes, but they're actually misrepresenting people, and in reality are just crapping on half the country. They're crapping on people that voted for Trump or conservatives or anyone that disagrees with a liberal. I mean, the country is still pretty split down the middle ideologically. So that's why when conservatives disagree or they say work on a TV show, they don't really bring it up. It doesn't matter to me, for example. Like, if someone's watching my show, I don't care if you're voting for Biden or you support something I disagree with. Like, if you watch my show, I appreciate it. I'm glad you're here. Come on down, watch some more videos, whatever you can, you know, support the show, become a follower on Twitter or something like that. I'm not going to discriminate. I'm not saying only these kinds of people can watch me. That's actually kind of strange and very kind of group thinky, very like strict. And that's why I think Walking Dead is making a bad move here. It really reminds me of Star Wars again. Star Wars kind of went down this road where they crapped on a lot of the fans. They called them man babies for disagreeing with them. Ghostbusters, again, another example that did that. Like, a lot of these media properties are isolating themselves, and I think it's going to really backfire on The Walking Dead like it did all these other classic examples. So reading down on these replies, let's see what we got here. This David person has a good response. It says, it's not about LGBTQ characters. It's how you introduce them in the series. It's like you're forcing them in your series just to be supporters. I mean, I love Aaron's character. That was a good introduction, to be honest. So this is back to what I was saying, where it's not really about what they say. They're misrepresenting the disagreements and the upsettedness of things. People are upset with Batwoman because it was a forced, terrible character. It's not because they don't like a certain type of alphabet person. Same thing with Walking Dead. I can't actually attest to the specifics. I'm not familiar with the episodes in the season right now, so we're not getting too specific. I might have to watch that and do a follow-up video. If you guys are interested, let me know for sure. Comment below, like this video. If this takes off, we could do more Walking Dead and I could watch these episodes. But for now, speaking in a general sense, I think it's easy to kind of assume Walking Dead is doing similar things to Batwoman, to Ghostbusters, to other shows in this bad kind of like Star Wars did at one point. They're pandering and making bad products and then hiding behind LGBTQ, women's rights, and BLM type stuff. So here's a random person that actually likes the characters. This person says they stopped watching during the governor story arc. Show is beyond formulaic. All characters have the same progression: new, hardened, crazy, pacifist, hardened again, then probably dead. I think this attests to the show has run its course. It's gone too long. They've lost most of the main characters. I don't even know if any of them are still around. Maybe Norman Reedus, maybe a few outliers, but basically it's a totally revamped cast, updated. It's doing the same thing. I think another reason I've heard people say that it's lost its edge, like there's nothing really to be scared of in the show anymore. Like the whole zombie thing is not really prevalent like it should be. Like it's supposed to be a zombie apocalypse, but you hardly see them as a threat anymore. It's just like more people walking around, emotions, apparently alphabet storylines that sound cringe to me too. So here's a couple of good responses to, I think we'll end here. This one says, I don't really care one way or the other. It's not my life, but don't ask me to march or support it either because I won't. I'm pretty neutral on it. Exactly. I don't care either. You do what you think is right, but don't force others to accept it. You have the same rights as me, a human. So these are great points. These are kind of neutral points, like the first person said specifically. I mean, there's a lot of people that aren't political. There's a lot of people that don't want to fight in a culture war. They don't want to vote or deal with politics. Like, and that's totally fine. Like I've been there. Sometimes I want to take the days off too, take a weekend off. I know I have to do part of this as my job as well, but I understand there's a lot of people that just want to watch Walking Dead because they like cool zombie shows. They like cool dramas and TV shows. And the fact that the producers are forcing this and saying, you got to support these rights or you're a bigot, that's where it's getting really cringe. And they're actually going to hurt a lot of people that probably would agree with them and be on their side if they needed to. But at this point, it's like this last guy says, they have the same rights. There's nothing else really to fight for. I don't know what other rights or stuff they want. I don't know what's they're going for. Like they keep marching, but it's like you have the vote, you have marriage rights, you have everything that we have. I guess they might want more. So that about wraps things up. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you comment your thoughts on everything below. Subscribe if you're new and hit that bell for notifications too. Until next time, have a great day.